Anyway, oh, I need a funny opening line.
Riddle me this.
Yes.
I've got the rest. You just asked for the opening line.
Riddle me this. Riddle.
Well, that was a movie.
Hello, welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon and this is Justin, and today we just saw The Batman. So we're gonna go over it pretty quickly, I feel like, before we get into spoilers. There's a lot to talk about in way of spoilers for this movie. So first thoughts. I liked it. It's funny that every time a new Batman movie comes out, everybody's debating about how dark and gritty it is, and they're all usually about the same. Like, the discourse before this was like, oh, it's new, darker, grittier than ever, and it's like, no, it wasn't.
No,
it really wasn't.
Maybe it feels a bit more grounded than previous entries, but
like the Zack Snyder and stuff,
like
for sure, but it also felt more comic booky than, say, the Nolan ones did.
Interesting.
Because, like, the Nolan ones, I mean, you didn't have over-the-top characters, and you didn't really have them in this either. But it's like, what they did with the Riddler in this reminded me a lot of what they did with the Joker in The Dark Knight, you know, of, like, making him more realistic.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I get that.
It's not any darker or grittier than I feel like Batman's ever been since Tim Burton did it. You know, it's, well, okay. Joel Schumacher had his run with it. That wasn't dark or gritty.
We like to forget those.
Yeah. Actually, I just saw on Twitter yesterday, people were talking about this new Batman movie, and so everybody was posting their rankings of the Batman movies, and somebody had honestly put The Dark Knight as the worst Batman movie, right after Batman and Robin, and I was like,
Man.
How does a person with a brain, or an organism that has a brain...
There's some interesting voting right there.
Like, you've got Heath Ledger as Joker, and you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, and you went...
But you don't have Chris
Arnold.
O'Donnell as Robin, so...
Yeah, right.
Is it a better film? No, clearly not.
Honestly, I felt like this movie really could have stood to be R-rated. I feel like there was a couple things... They kept hinting at, like, cool, dark, creepy things, but they didn't, like, get to show it. Like, there was this guy who, he had his face eaten off by rats, and they allude to it, but it's just like, oh my god, look away, and then you don't see anything, and you're like,
I really thought I kept missing the shot where they actually showed the face.
And there was a lot of that throughout this movie. It was like, I wonder if they did shoot it as R-rated, and then they were, like, dealing with the studio, and the studio's like, we want to go PG-13 this time. And so they said, okay. And maybe there'll be a director's cut that comes out. But it's just, it was a shame to me that, like, it hinted at more than it could show, and it was just a little bit, like, of a buzzkill at times. You're like, well, I want to see that. There was also... Did anybody die? Like, everybody, there's so many people that got, like, shot or exploded or whatever, and then they're just like, I'm fine now. And you're like, but why are you fine? So, I liked it, but I don't think that, like, this isn't The Dark Knight. This isn't Nolan's Batmans to me. I think those are still untouchable. Frankly, I like the Tim Burton ones more than this, too. I don't know how you feel about those.
I would say that I would agree with you there. I do really like the really early, well, I guess late 80s, early 90s Batman films, but I enjoyed this one too.
Yeah,
it's just it's hard to compete with the first two Nolans and the
two Burton ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's where I'd rank it as. I would rank it as the 5th best Batman movie, because Dark Knight, and then rank the other 3 how you want, but those are the best 4. And then I like this better than The Dark Knight Rises. I liked it better than, of course, Joe Schumacher's 2 films, and I liked it better than Zack Snyder's films. So, I mean, I'm not saying, like, oh, this was bad, but it's just, it's not as good as we've seen Batman either, you know? It explains the reaction this movie's gotten so far, as people on one side saying, oh, it's the best thing ever, and people saying, like, more of this? We saw this again? Like, Batman's parents died again, damn it! Like, and to be fair, they didn't harp on that. They mentioned every bullet point they had to. Like, your parents died. I don't use guns, yada, yada, yada. They just went through all of it.
Yeah.
And they said it pretty quickly, and it was like, it wasn't obnoxious.
I thought it was a nice way to take it compared to some of the other ones. It wasn't so up front at the start of the movie, oh gosh, crime alley.
Right, we didn't have a slow-mo of, them falling to the ground and then...
The pearls.
Yeah, the pearls scatter. We didn't have to see that again, and that's fine. We've seen it in at least 5 Batman movies already. We've already seen it happen, so...
Hey, there could be new people every time.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. It was referenced and even delved into in a different way. Like, they keep showing Batman reacting to various kids, like orphans, kids, because people do die. I was over exaggerating. People do die, and so a lot of times there'll be like this young boy that's reacting to it in various scenes, and he's relating to those kids in those moments. So it's like, it's very heavily hinted at, but it's not like, we're gonna watch the instant replay of this 5 times.
And I liked it. It was a nice touch, especially for the ending theme of the film. It was just the kind of growth in Batman.
Right.
I think it really plays in nicely there.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I also do enjoy about this whole Batman Year 2 thing that they're going for, is it's not an origin story, but he's also not fully Batman yet. He becomes Batman year 3.
Yeah, he definitely felt like a young Batman.
Right, because he's still figuring it out. Like, he's angsty. He's almost like a Nightwing Robin type at times, where you're like, this isn't the Batman I'm used to. And part of that is kind of disappointing because, like, he's not as cool as you're used to Batman being.
I see that.
But at the same time, it's like he's becoming that character.
It makes a lot of sense for the time period of the character.
Right. Batman can't be born a badass.
Yeah,
he has to get there.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that, and so it's fine. Whereas, like, in Batman Begins, he gets to that point in a montage. Here, we're taking a movie to show him getting to that point. And by the end of this movie, he's traveled as a character. He's developed as a character, getting closer to becoming the Batman that we know and love. And that's fine. It's just, it's not as traditional of a Batman movie when you're watching a character who is not really like the Batman the Animated Series type, where he's just like, oh, I'm always right about everything, and I'm smart, and I'm badass, and it's like, he's not quite there yet. But it's interesting to finally see a different angle on it, at least.
Yeah. Definitely the most interesting change for this film was the take on the Riddler. I had known how that was going to go. I had heard that they were going for a much more grounded Zodiac Unabomber style killer. And I think they definitely nailed that aspect. Going for that type of... He doesn't feel a hell of a lot like the Riddler, but he definitely feels like that clue-giving serial killer type that I've seen from real life and from various TV shows over the years, of crime TV shows.
Right. And he feels as much like the Riddler as Heath Ledger's Joker felt like the Joker. I think a lot of people, the cooler the villain is, the less people care if it's comic accurate,
Yeah.
So he's not comic accurate, but who cares? He's a cool version of this character, because actually who this character is these type of people are losers in real life. That's why they become, or part of the... It's a chicken or the egg. They are losers. And so you see him being a badass in his element, but then you take the mask off and he's a loser. And so you kind of see that. So it's not as enjoyable of a character as, say, Heath Ledger's Joker, because he's such an enigma and he's so cool because you never find the weak spot of the Joker. You never get to see him without his makeup on because he has no makeup, so to speak. This guy you get to see behind the mask and you go, oh, he's lame. But the character type is the same feel, the same universe. Like this Riddler could have fit into Heath Ledger's Joker's universe, and that would have fit together. I think they're that same type.
It's definitely that get Batman grounded into the real world feel, and I think they did it well here. And I'll be interested to see how they carry that forward with other villains in the Batman.
Right, because my biggest disappointment was just the sheer amount of things they tried to do in it. And I know it's a 3-hour movie, so you can do a lot, but it's like the Penguin, for instance. He's a lackey in this movie, and there's hints that maybe he'll become a bigger, more important character in the future. And I like him being a crime boss. Yeah. That's how I would do it if I was making a Batman movie about the Penguin. I'd make him a crime boss.
I like how they get the club too.
Right. Everything being ice related, by the way.
I remember the club from Batman the Animated Series. It wasn't so Penguin related.
Right.
But
it's that same vein. And so so I like the crime boss side of it. Not like it's not Danny DeVito. We didn't go that direction again, thankfully. And so I liked what we did with him, but he was so underutilized. Like, he's under Falcone. Falcone is the big crime boss, and he's a secondary crime boss. So it's kind of like, you didn't get to do a whole lot with him, but maybe in the future we'll get to do more with him. He
felt like a third movie villain.
Yeah. Or
there's other things that kind of make me question that, but he felt like a third movie villain.
He could also be what we ended up seeing Scarecrow be throughout the Dark Knight trilogy, whereas like he's just gonna kind of keep popping up. That's kind of also like, because like in this, you know, Falcone and the Penguin, they're the mob guys, they're bad guys in this movie, but the point is the Riddler. So then the second movie, there's gonna probably be, they've talked about Mr. Freeze or whatever, whoever it ends up being, there's gonna be that guy, and then the Penguin's also probably gonna be messing around like Falcone was in this. That's what I would assume, which is fine, but it feels like a disservice to the character at the same time, because it's like he could be a standalone villain, just having him be that side character is
if
a little
he doesn't come back as a main movie villain, it'll be pretty disappointing. I can see this being his setup, and it's not what we would expect for him right now, but if they make something of it later, I think I'll be okay with it.
And then similarly, I loved and hated how Catwoman was used in this. First of all, Zoe Kravitz was a perfect casting choice. She's the best actress, I think, best fit for Catwoman we've gotten in a live action adaptation so far. But I still, every time I see Catwoman in a live action movie now, I'm always obviously going to be comparing it to Michelle Pfeiffer, and I'm always going to be disappointed because they don't quite nail it like they did in that. And like, I mean, we can just throw out Anne Hathaway in The Dark Knight Rises because that was abysmally bad, but this was like, they went for that same type that they did with Anne Hathaway in The Dark Knight Rises, but they nailed that type. But that type is still a lesser, lamer version of Catwoman.
She's just a very toned down cat. There's not much Catwoman in this Catwoman. Outside of, you know, there's some definite mutual attraction between her and Bruce. And
despite her,
she owns cats, and her costume has kind of cat ears. And she is a cat burglar.
Right.
But there's not really much Catwoman besides that.
Also, can we talk about Batman and Catwoman's relationship in this? Because it's bizarre, which it should be. But so her girlfriend goes missing, and then she turns around and like kisses him the next day.
Yeah.
And I was like, it felt forced.
I keep forgetting that her and the girlfriend are together.
And it felt really genuinely forced, though, that it's like she didn't have a reason to have infatuation with Batman until I think the end of the movie, the third act of the movie, but it developed so much quicker than that, and it felt like, well, we're supposed to do this, so we're going to do it, which is what I was saying. There was too many things going on in this movie, because I don't know what it is with superhero movies anymore, but one villain just isn't enough. So we've got the Riddler, we've got Falcone, we've got Penguin, we've got Catwoman. It's like 4 in the first movie. We've got 4.
And I totally get including some of them, like what we were talking about earlier with Penguin as being that potential reoccurring role in the background. I think that should be Catwoman.
Sure.
I think Catwoman should be a reoccurring. They don't have their couple of kisses in this film. It's just flirtation, and they can build that over 3 movies.
Right, because Catwoman didn't start as a villain in this, and that's how Catwoman is supposed to be. Is she's supposed to be a bad guy, and then as time goes on, she's like, well, I'm not really a bad guy, I'm just badder than Batman is. We disagree on the whole killing thing. She also wants to steal things because whatever. She's kind of bad, she's kind of good, she's somewhere in the middle. This, she wants to kill people, but all of her motives are like good to an extent. So we didn't have her at her most evil, like comparing her to Michelle Pfeiffer. We're not there. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer, she wanted to kill a bad guy, but she was a psychopath.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any of that in this. It's just like, well, I want vengeance, so I'm going to kill this one bad guy, but really, I'm not doing anything bad. Like, she steals one thing, and it's a passport.
Hey, she went after other things. She didn't quite
failed.
get them.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was, like you said, it's a toned down version of the character. It's an overly polished version of the character where it's like, we want her to be with Batman. We want them to get along. So we're going to take away the nitty or grittier version of her, the worst parts of her, and just focus on what she becomes later. And it's like, we kind of skipped something, though, I feel, with that, which is disappointing. But we've been going over the negatives. Let's talk about the positives, because there's plenty. The action in this movie is a lot of fun.
Oh, gosh. I love the grappling hook work here.
The grappling hook work was fun. I know it was shown in the trailer, but still the best, to me, visual moment, the whole thing, was when he's walking down that hall when the lights are out, beating the shit out of people and the guns are going off, and only light you get is from the guns. And I was giddy watching it. Like, I'd seen it in the trailer multiple times, but just watching it in the theater again, and like, aha! It's cool. Like, it is really cool.
I felt that same way about the car scene where he's chasing
the car chase was great.
And I know it's the final shot in the trailer. I've seen it so many times now, but my gosh, is it great on big screen too.
Okay, yes, but also, so like he alluded to, the walking up, the car's upside down, and you have him walking up, and that's really badass because it's the music, and then he's just, hello. All coolness was lost immediately.
Oh gosh, have you ever seen, what is it? His name? Maybe it might have been Pete Holmes or something.
Yeah, Pete Holmes,
the Batman.
The Badman.
The Batman. Okay, that could have been a Batman scene. The walk in.
Yes,
Hey there.
I know Batman, in order to be as badass and cool as he is, there have to be awkward little moments in between. We don't need to see them. And this movie really set out to, I feel like, do that, where we're filling in the cracks. Like, you see his makeup when he doesn't have the mask on, because you have to have that. And so it's like, we're trying to do all those things, and it's like, we don't need to.
Oh God, that was
We can
great.
just see him in his full glory. We don't need. It's fine, really. It is. Oh, we should talk about Robert Pattinson. Well, first of all, what did you think?
Okay, so I enjoy him as Batman. I think he's gonna grow on me as Bruce, but we didn't really see like a hell of a lot of Bruce from him outside of angsty.
Yeah, he hasn't.
Dark Bruce.
This version of Batman hasn't developed his Bruce Wayne yet, because he's not being the outgoing, charismatic. Like, they're calling him a recluse. Like, nobody ever sees him. So I think he's gonna have to develop that. But like, this version of him hasn't developed that reputation, that outgoing thing. And I think, I mean, with the whole vibe of where the character is going, I feel like he's going to do that more in the second one. I don't know if they will or not. But yeah, so I agree. The Bruce Wayne is fine as the recluse weirdo guy, but yeah, he hasn't developed that charismatic, like, oh, I'll buy the hotel type. He doesn't do that yet, obviously. As Batman, I thought he was fine. I never had a problem with him. It is amusing to me, though, that he's doing the same voice that Christian Bale did in Batman Begins, and nobody's making fun of him for doing it.
You know, I don't know why. It just feels like so much quieter to me than like every other like slightly higher pitched, quieter than every other one.
Right.
It doesn't bother me, but I definitely notice that he sounds very different from other Batman to me.
To be fair, so the Dark Knight is really when Christian Bale really, where is he? Like, went into that. In Batman Begins, he was doing that raspy whisper thing, which is what Pattinson was doing in this. Why I really appreciate Bale's take on that voice is it sounded like somebody who'd been doing it for years. Yeah. And so in the first one, it's like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm creepy. But then it's like, his voice is tired of doing that. And that's why So, hey, Pattinson, if you want to prove me wrong about your acting, the second one, you got to do it too. But yeah, no. So, I mean, I'm outspoken on this channel about being, I guess the best way to put it is indifferent toward Pattinson. Back during Twilight and all that stuff, I defended him and said he's not as bad as everybody says he is. And now everybody's praising him, and I'm like, well, I don't think he's as good as everybody says he is. I've been on the middle this whole time, and I'm staying there. I think he was fine. He didn't distract me at all, but he didn't wow me either. Like, I was never like, man, this is the best version of Batman I've ever... No, it wasn't. It was just... But it was fine. I never had a single complaint about it.
No, it's... as for his acting, I've only ever seen probably 2-3 movies he's been in, so I can't really speak to that too well. But as for his take on Batman, it's definitely perfectly serviceable. It's just it just needs more time to grow with it.
Right.
They need to explore the character a bit more. Stay away from the past,
to develop,
but his time as Batman, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see him not with Catwoman for his time as Batman.
Yeah.
To see him on his own doing that. There wasn't really much interaction with Alfred either, so...
There was early on,
Mm.
and something I was going to point out was, like, they really did make this version of Batman a lot more dependent on Catwoman, as you were pointing out, but also Alfred, and, like, Alfred is helping solve the ciphers. Alfred, they allude to, is the one who taught him how to fight. Alfred has this military background, and I really enjoyed all of that with Alfred, which is interesting, because when I heard Andy Serkis was going to play him, and I love Andy Serkis as an actor, I thought that was a miscast. I really enjoyed Andy Serkis as Alfred. I thought he was really good.
No, I thought it was pretty solid. It's just a little bit of time as Alfred, but I did like it. I do enjoy the military background, which I know is a part of his story in many different versions. The training Bruce is, I'm assuming, a kid. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I enjoyed that whole arc with it. I enjoyed the focus on sleuthing. I know that was a big thing that people talked about in this, was like, we're going to make Batman more of a sleuth this time.
I was... oh, wait, no, I guess we're not doing... Are we doing spoilers yet? Or?
No, not yet.
Yeah, okay. I get that. We'll get to that later.
I enjoyed that, but that still felt kind of silly at times. Like, we didn't quite go, like... Adam West Batman, where it's like, C for Catwoman. Like, it's like, we're not doing that. Or like a canary in a tree with a machine gun. Like, we're not doing that stupidity. But it's still like, some of the riddles were kind of silly. Like, the line in the trailer always bothered me. It was like, what's black and blue and dead all over? You. And you're like, that was lame. Like, and there's a couple of moments like that throughout that are kind of lame. Batman in general isn't quite... there in some ways. They have him go to the fucking front door of the club multiple times.
That is funny.
It's like, I need to go talk to Penguin.
He just
let me in.
He walks right in.
Like, you're Batman. Go through the fucking ceiling.
Just show up in the office.
Oh, like that really.
That's moments like that really show you it's a young Batman.
Yeah. Also, doubling back to the very beginning of the movie, because there's a bit of a running dialogue, or a monologue, I should say. Bruce Wayne is narrating a little bit. Batman is narrating, and he's like, "They've got the bat signal out there, and it's not just a call. It's a warning." And it goes in montage of all of these people being like, "Oh God, I'm not gonna commit crime tonight. Batman's out there. He could be hiding in the shadows." And then every fucking person he meets after that goes, "Who the fuck do you think you are? Have you not been paying attention? Everybody knows apparently, but you."
Yeah, I kind of missed that part where they just ignore him. But I really like the beginning with looking at the shadows and the little alleyways.
Cool.
They're like, "Oh gosh, wait, is Batman here?"
Yeah.
They got the signal out.
Because like, so it starts showing these dark like areas, and I was thinking like, is he in there? I don't see him. And then he says like, "No, I'm not there, but just anywhere darkness is, people become scared when they know." And then
it's that great effect of, I am the night, I am terror, I am Batman.
Vengeance! Which is funny that they kept referring to him as, "Hey, Vengeance," and you're like, Batman. Okay, that's fine.
Hey, he started that.
He did. But the thing though is like, so you go through that whole montage, and then that montage is leading up to him beating up the guys you see in the trailer. He's just taking his anger out on this guy, and they go, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And I was like, "That one guy that ran away knew." What about you guys? Like, huh? And then I forget who else, but I think like the Penguin goes like, "What the hell do you think you're doing? Like, who are you?" Yeah. Doing his like Al Pacino impression. Like, everybody's just like, "Who's this dork?" And it's like, he's been like, we're on year 2.
It kind of feels like for his first year, he only fought like street corner
thugs,
dealers, and street thugs, maybe. And then now he's working his way up.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So, yeah, visually, the movie's really cool. I love the visual style of it. I loved pretty much all of the character choices, too. I think some of it was rushed. I think some of it could have been developed better, but every choice was the right one. Casting was great across the board. Colin Farrell really is just disappeared into this role and was phenomenal as the Penguin. Like I said, Zoe Kravitz, best choice you possibly ever could have made for Catwoman. Andy Serkis surprised me. Robert Pattinson wasn't bad. Everybody's good. Everybody's good. Paul Dano, or Dano, however you say his name, as Riddler, also just perfect. Like, whoever was in charge of casting was brilliant. Jeffrey Wright as Gordon is also phenomenal. Yeah. The only acting that was really, I felt like, off or bad at all was the mayor elect, the lady running for mayor, she was shit. Everybody else is good. Everybody else is great.
Hey, she stood there and spoke with a passion. Yes.
She sounded like a parody, like a YouTube parody, like SNL. Like, everything was so fake about her character. The opening scene, you've got this like debate between the mayor, the current mayor, and then her. And I was just like, is all the acting gonna be this bad in this movie? But luckily it wasn't. It was just them, and I was like, okay, good, we can move on. But yeah, that went a lot longer than I thought we would. But we're going into spoilers now, so if you haven't seen it, don't want anything spoiled, click away. But please remember to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye. Before we get into spoilers, it's fucking hot.
Yeah.
Break.
Every time.
Oh God. Everybody knows who I am, except other people who don't know who I am.
All the street people who see my sign all the time know who I am. But the big guys, they're live indoors with their hotels and their clubs and shit. They never see the symbol.
Yeah, apparently not. They don't look up very often. Yeah, shit, what's that? The moon looks weird tonight.
I wonder if they're gonna do like a time skip in between these. Like next time it'll be like year 5 Batman.
Year 22. What the hell
grown
happened?
up some.
So yeah, two of my pet peeves, or I guess it's one prolonged pet peeve, is kill some motherfucking people. Like Andy Serkis, Alfred should have died. That would have been great.
Yeah, no, I was shocked.
Yeah,
shocked when they were gonna kill. When I thought they were gonna kill.
I was
Alfred.
like, oh my God. Man, this is good. Like, this is creative. This is something. Wow. And then he's like in the hospital. I'm like, yeah, man.
And then when I saw them in the hospital. So like I guess we should go over what happened for the people who hopefully they've seen it.
He got blown up.
Yeah, so a bomb was sent to Bruce Wayne at the Wayne Manor, and Alfred opens it, and
we need to double back on that at some point, by the way.
Yeah, as soon as he recognizes it's a bomb, he throws it, and I guess it goes like behind a table, sort of, or whatever. But he doesn't die from the explosion, and he's not very like scarred up from this. Like, he's clearly got a couple of burns, a couple of cuts and scrapes there.
He fell down a hill.
He looks pretty fine in the hospital. I thought at least if they're not gonna kill him, they give him like some 3rd-degree burns or some shit. Two-face him up some.
Yeah, no, I was disappointed with that. And the mayor-elect should have died when she got shot, but no, she's fine.
I'm okay with her being alive because I guess they need a mayor in future films.
She wasn't a good actress. Anybody can be mayor. It doesn't matter.
She's the young new mayor who wants to change things.
She was just...
She's she's AOC, but like less social media.
She's awful. She was a Barbara Gordon type that's not going to become Batgirl. And it was just like, why is she here? The main problem with me was her acting. The character's fine, but her dying would have been good, because, like, it's a beacon of hope.
It also would have been really shocking.
Yeah, like, and that's what I'm saying, like, this whole movie really could have just, like, used a little bit of grit, and it would have been great. Like, there was a couple of gritty moments that were really cool, like when Batman is just been shotgunned and is almost dead, and then he stabs himself with a needle to give him, I guess, an adrenaline boost. Yeah,
he has an adrenaline hole on the suit. I loved it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I was trying to figure out where it was, but he's just...
I think it was in his leg, but regardless, yeah, he just, like, he is about to murder this dude. Vengeance is his name. Yeah. And I was like, that, see, if the whole movie was like that would have been what it was advertised, to me at least, as. And so moments like that were beautiful, but it's like, we should have killed some more people. We should have shown a little bit more gore and stuff. Like, show the guy's face being ripped off by the rat, or at least the aftermath.
Yeah, at least the picture. Just show some cuts and scrapes.
Like, and there was just, it was filmed like it was dark and gritty, but then, like, if you really like took a step back and went like, okay, if the color palette was different, what is different from a Marvel movie? Not a lot.
It's the comedy.
Yeah,
it's not constantly.
The comedy was much drier in this, but there was still a lot of comedy.
It's just not constant quips, that's all.
Yeah, no, not constant, and a little bit more intelligent humor, tongue-in-cheek humor, where it's like, a thumb drive, really?
No,
like stuff like that.
I did love that.
Yeah, but it's like, it's good. Like, I mean, that comedy didn't bother me.
Those first couple of riddles were pretty great.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought the riddle about, like, the rat with wings, though, was so weird, because it was like, oh, a rat with wings must be a pigeon. Nah. Can't be a pigeon. It's a penguin.
That's another bird animal.
Not a penguin. It's a bat, which was my first. I was like,
Yeah,
it's a bat.
no.
He's referring
I
to
said
Batman.
pigeon or bats.
And then they're like, oh, it's not bat. And I'm like, it's not? And they're like, it's a falcon. I'm like, what?
So just anything with wings is now a rat with wings.
Sure.
Yeah, no. The pigeon and the bat made perfect sense, and I kind of wish they just ended it with the bat. But.
Yeah, it should have been. I will say that the whole thing with Thomas Wayne and all of that, and then the Riddler wanting to kill Bruce Wayne because of the sins of his father, that was all fun and interesting.
I like that it's a kind of well, as far as I know, I mean, maybe it's a comic somewhere, I've just never read it, but as far as I know, it's a very different take on Batman's parents and their death, and right. I like that part.
And the fact that it never gave us a definitive answer. It was like, well, Falcone says this happened. Alfred says this happened. What really happened? I don't know. They both admit, I don't know what happened. So, I mean, you would like to believe that Alfred is correct and Falcone's lying, but you don't know that. You don't know. So it's interesting because it doesn't really give you anything, and that's kind of why, like, Batman in this whole thing is like, well, I have to stop relying on that, and I'm going to be my own and the city's own beacon of hope.
I really like that messaging for Batman. They've always played up the dark, gritty, I'm the knights, beat these people half to death, and they really played up the hope in this one. The inspiration for the kids, actually being visually seen, saving people instead of just hearing about it and probably like the news that, you know, some masked figure beat these people into a coma.
Right. I was noting that when at the end he goes in with the flare and he starts helping people. I was like, this is the first time. This is the first time I've ever seen Batman help in the aftermath of something.
And it very publicly helped too.
I loved it. I really did. Now, the one concern is, does that mean that the bat symbol isn't actually a bat? It's a symbol for hope on his planet?
Baton.
Also, speaking of that bat symbol, apparently it comes off and is his batarang.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because it's right on the chest. He can throw it really quickly, but
doesn't seem very practical.
It's only one, but I'm trying to think if I've seen that before, where he has one right there, so you can get the others off.
Which, sure, but then also, so at the end, there's like this big heroic moment where, like, so the water is flooding in. If you haven't seen the movie and it doesn't make sense, sorry. There's too much to get into to really explain everything.
3 hours.
Water is flooding in, and there's this wire coming down that's leading from, you know, a broken electrical box, it looks like, that's going to electrocute everybody. So Batman heroically swings out on his grappling hook and cuts the thing and then falls. And it's like, you cut it with your batarang. Just throw the batarang at the thing from where you were standing. Like, what? You didn't have to swing out there, electrocute yourself, and then fall into the water.
Hey man, he needs to get close and generate enough force there. Now, I hadn't thought about him just throwing it at the time, so I was okay with it then. But
throw the fucker.
But what I was a little miffed about was him getting immediately back up afterwards.
Yeah,
like I thought the people were gonna come in and like grab him up,
lift him up,
and then they could have had the moment where he saves the people and then leaves out. But he just kind of he's kind of fine afterwards. Just got right back up.
Yeah, like I was like, why are we watching this whole big moment in slow motion? And I was like, is this really that big of a deal? And then he just gets back up and you're like, no, it wasn't a big deal. Why did we do that?
The big slow motion moment was 5 seconds afterwards where he's leading the people out. That was the good slow motion moment.
Right.
He goes to reach out his hand to the new mayor-elect, and she doesn't trust him because he's a masked vigilante.
But the little
kid does. Yeah. And he saves the little kid, and then he inspires everybody. I liked it.
Yeah, there was good moments in there. That whole ending was muddled. They couldn't decide on an ending. I felt like there was 5. And one of them was god-awful. Because we have an Arkham, the Riddler. And then we've got this guy talking creepily next to him, and you're like, is that the Joker? I think that's the Joker. And then he says, you're a clown, but there's worse things to be than a clown. And you're like, all right, it's the Joker.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, all right, listening to his voice, you can't see him at all. You just hear him, and you're like, he sounds like the Joker, I guess. That's not a bad take on the Joker voice. And then he laughs. And you're like, sans Jared Leto, that might be the worst Joker laugh I've ever heard. That was really bad. It was so bad.
I figured the Joker would be part of this, and I don't know, I can't remember if it was in the trailer, but seeing the Joker henchman at the beginning of the film, was that was a nice touch to me to confirm that he's in the world, but I was really hoping they'd steer away from him and
bring him in the third movie, not the second.
Yeah,
movie.
Definitely not the third film, but it's starting to feel like it's gonna be like a Sinister Six Rogues Gallery team up film.
I'm not opposed to them doing that, but the likelihood of it being good is so low.
There's so many other things I want to see than Riddler come back to team up with the Joker.
Yeah,
there's so many more villains they could go with. I mean, they literally set up the Penguin here. He could be a great third movie villain if they give him a little bit of time in the next film. Second film was great. Could be great for Freeze. These would be great to see, especially Freeze really done in a live action film, unlike that one we don't talk about.
What movie?
Exactly. And so I really don't want to see him in it, but I guess it could be all right.
I'm not opposed to it. I just wouldn't be. It's not what I'm excited for. It's not what I'm hoping happens.
If this gets a second trilogy for some reason, because I guess they want to do long things with, well, at least Marvel is, but maybe this will get extra movies past the trilogy. And if that's the case, bring in Joker, do the whole team up. We could do well, I guess that's just an episode of I Almost Got Him, but I like that one. We could do stuff like that. There's so many
things that haven't been done on film yet. Why do things we've already seen before?
Every time he's on film, we see it.
We haven't gotten a decent Mr. Freeze yet, so let's do it.
Makes sense.
And we hadn't gotten a really good Penguin yet, because, I mean, Danny DeVito's was fine for what it was, but it's not the Penguin, really. And so we're getting that kind of, and we hadn't gotten a good Riddler before. Sorry, Jim. Love you, but I mean... and so it's like we're doing that, so let's keep doing that. Let's keep doing new things that we hadn't seen before.
Give us new villains.
Yeah.
It'd be really... We'd all appreciate it, I think.
What was the part that I said I need to double back to?
The packages to Wayne Manor.
Okay, yes. So the Riddler is going through getting vengeance on everybody, one by one, doing his little jigsaw traps, and kidnapping people and killing them right then and there. And then he sends a package to Bruce Wayne. The one person that would be hard to kill, he's like, I'm just gonna send something in the mail. I got shit to do. I'm busy. This'll be good enough. What?
If this was an R-rated film, they probably would have had him just like up here behind Alfred in that scene where the package showed up and just like take
murder him.
Then. Yeah, probably. Him and the other housekeeper.
It was contrived, and a lot of this movie was, because a lot of shit had to happen in a short period of time. I know, 3 hours, but this could have been a trilogy of movies if we played it all out. And so it's like a lot of it just happened for the sake of it happening. So it's like something like the Riddler being so meticulous and smart about every single step, and then just being like careless with one thing.
Yeah, just that one death. Because all the other ones, he was there. He actually did it with his hands. He made sure it was done and made a symbol out of it.
He didn't, as Batman said, he doesn't make mistakes. And then he's just like, send a care package.
Hey, it's a small explosive device, but, you know, at least the letter's fireproof.
Sure.
Yeah.
The cool thing with that letter was when it opens up, it makes you think he knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Oh,
because it says to Batman, but then later you find out, he didn't actually know, because he's referring to Bruce Wayne. Or at least you think he doesn't know. It could go either way.
I really thought he did know, because he's targeting Bruce Wayne. He keeps talking. You start seeing the messaging of, I know the real you, come find me. It starts to, towards the end of the film, it starts to really feel like he already has discovered through his genius mind that Bruce Wayne and Batman have to be the same people.
But then he's referring to him in the third person when he's talking to Batman, and they have that moment where he's not doing it, and then he does it, and Batman looks at him like, oh, he doesn't know. But maybe he's just doing that so that nobody else knows, because they're on camera. And so maybe he just wants to know and not let anybody else know. Or he just really doesn't know, because, to be fair, he sends to Batman to every crime scene that he's at. So him sending it to Bruce Wayne didn't actually mean anything, if you think about it, because, I mean, those letters were at every death.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know if he knew or not, but that's interesting that they don't spell it out for you.
It doesn't... Well, I thought that he knew up until the point that they met each other once
that's what I was
in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, he definitely doesn't know.
I mean, he could have, and he could have been lying about it.
I don't believe
he could have been
he
doing...
knows.
Yeah, I don't think he did either, but...
I think all of the messaging that made me believe that he knew who Batman was is just we are kindred spirits.
Right. Where, yeah.
I understand the real you.
Because he says that. It was like, people think that the mask is hiding you, but the mask is you. And I know that because I like to wear a mask too.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's probably what it meant. It was interesting. This movie did a lot of fake outs that were kind of just there. Like having Catwoman's dad be Falcone and having the Riddler not actually know who he is. And a lot of these things is just like, it didn't really add anything to the plot to me. It's like, we didn't have to have plot twists throughout this thing.
Catwoman being Falcone's daughter didn't
care.
Like, if Falcone had just killed her mom because
Sure.
like he was one of her
Or
employees.
her girlfriend, he killed both.
Yeah. Like,
Strangled her.
Yeah, either way, it makes total sense why she wants revenge on him.
They didn't need to be related.
They mention the family thing, but they don't really play that up.
They didn't add it. It didn't add anything to the plot at all. All it did was add 2 lines of dialogue, which is when she goes, "Hey, Dad," and he goes, "Hmm?"
Oh.
And then when he goes, "You know, what I don't want to do is to my own flesh and blood,"
Yeah.
and you're like, that's all it changed. It didn't add anything like that didn't need to be in the script. Like we're talking about the movie being too long and rushed. We can take out things like that. It's fine. It's fine. It is.
One thing I did not expect at all was that QAnon conspiracy hive of people at the end.
I like that though. I really like that.
It was interesting because when he got caught, I fully knew since I realized there was more time in the film.
There's gotta be something.
Fully knew there was more plot, and setting up remote bombs over the city, is that type of killer plot.
Right.
Seen it in shows, seen it in real life. Ish.
Yeah.
But it's definitely that type of killer plot.
And
to have the extra people come in, be part of the plan.
Because that really tied into the whole thing of, like I was saying, is like when you unmask this type of killer, they're losers.
Yeah.
And they gravitate toward each other and they idolize one another, and they're all like you saw in the chat on the video thing where I was like, don't forget to bring this, and like, where did you get that mask? It's like stuff like, it's like they're just losers, you know? It's like it's like the hockey pad Batmans in The Dark Knight. It's just people idolizing and trying to all fit in and stuff. And so it really did fit with the whole theme to me, and I really did enjoy it. I will admit I didn't expect it, but once it happened, I was like, that is cool, and I'm glad they went that direction. But yeah, you're right. It's like the second he gets locked up, you're like, well, I'm not looking at the clock, but like,
it definitely feels like
this hasn't been 3 hours. I know it hasn't.
Yeah.
So what else is going to happen? I will say, I think him going around beating up all of those guys, it was cool, but it felt like anticlimactic because it's like, and I guess you can't have a big boss battle in this because there was no boss to battle. Like the Riddler isn't, you know, a one-on-one hands-to-hand combat genius or anything, but it's like we're building up to him beating up a bunch of losers. None of them really could do much of anything except the one guy who got lucky with the shotgun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like, it felt a bit anticlimactic, but really I guess the fighting wasn't the focus of this Batman.
It's so funny how sloppy Batman's armor makes him.
Yeah.
Because it's so cool to see him just take bullets and just, like, the one hallway fight scene where they're
just walking up to the guy.
just 2 machine guns on him, just eating the bullets.
And then he does that, and the guy's got a shotgun, and he's just like, oh, fuck. This is what we're talking about with Batman, where it's like, he's not quite the badass Batman we know yet.
He takes too many hits, he gets shot too many times, and there's too few gadgets, although I guess that's the more realistic thing.
It's honestly actually a lot like, of the many Batmen, he reminds me most of Michael Keaton's, because Michael Keaton's really leaned into theatrics because he wasn't that great of a fighter. His gadgets weren't that great. It couldn't even lift up him and the girl at the same time. It's just like he could fly around and look cool, but he wasn't like, he was constantly getting beat up and shot and falling over and stuff. And so it's like, this reminded me a lot of that. This isn't, this isn't Ben Affleck at all. This isn't even the Christian Bale type. It's very much just, this is a dude and he's figuring it out. And then he goes to the roof and he flies away, and he has to like inflate like he has the squirrel suit, and then he doesn't land the landing properly, and it's like, ooh. I was like, okay,
that's very beginner Batman moves.
That's legit. Like, it's not just his cape goes and hey, it's like there's actually a process here, and he's scared of heights, and he's figuring it out. I was like,
yeah, I forgot about that for a second. He actually hesitated, showed a little fear before taking the jump.
That was legit. I like that. I like that.
Off the top of my head, I don't really remember too many fear moments in Batman outside of like fear gas induced.
And that's
around
why
his parents, so the bats.
Yeah, and that's why it's like that's why I'm saying like if you watch this, it may not feel as much like a Batman movie as you're used to, but it really is just the evolution of Batman where if you think about it, he has to get to that point. He can't just start out as a badass. That doesn't make any sense. You'd be even more deranged than he already is if you're just like, yes, I am indestructible, thank you. Like you have to get there. And I know in Batman Begins, you have the scene with the stapler, and then he runs and jumps off the roof, and the fire escape breaks a little bit. But that's like one scene, and then he's Batman. Like, this is a whole movie of that, you know? Yeah. So I appreciate that because it is a little bit of a different take. And if we're going to make more Batman movies, you have to make it interesting somehow. And so they did. So, yeah, I think, like I said, I put it around the middle of the Batman movies. I said it was the 5th best, and I think that's what I'm going to stay with it. I feel like I'd give it a 7 out of 10 is what I feel like.
Probably 7.5 for me.
Legit.
Yeah.
How would you rank the other ones, by the way?
Wait, all of them? Or
or at least the first 5. Because I think we agree that these are the top 5.
Definitely the best.
Yes. Number 1. Not the worst. Whoever you were on Twitter.
4 is definitely 89.
Okay. So you like 92 better than...
Yeah.
Okay.
Always have. It's just a question of Batman Begins versus 92. But I've always liked 92 more than the original Batman.
Yeah. I've talked about this before on my channel, actually, whereas, like, I think I can objectively say 89 is a better made movie, but I do enjoy 92 more for some reason, and I don't know why that is.
I've always enjoyed Danny DeVito's Penguin. It's not my favorite elements of the film, but I've always enjoyed it. And Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman, it's just phenomenal. I did love it. It might
and it's
also
got Christopher Walken.
Yeah, he's walking here.
But Jack Nicholson as Joker is phenomenal, of course. I mean, he made that movie great.
Yeah.
And the movie, I just feel like, is better written. Like, there's not as many stupid things in it. There's still stupid things in it. Like, well, you want to get nuts? It's kind of weird. But I think it's a better made movie, but I do agree that I think Returns is more enjoyable for whatever reason. It's just a little bit more dark, a little bit more fun in some ways. Yeah. It's taking itself a little bit less seriously. But yeah, I'd go Dark Knight. I think Begins, and then Burton, and then this. And then after that, I don't know.
Yeah, after that it gets
muddy.
I mean, Nolan 3
and versus Superman.
Yeah.
They're around the same to me. They're both.
Include Justice League in this list? Because I would put I would put Justice League over versus Superman. And
really? I hated Justice League.
Which one? Because I'm talking the Snyder
cut. I hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it more.
Did you see the Ultimate?
You are also the person who really enjoys versus Superman.
The Snyder, not
everybody
the Snyder cut, but the Ultimate cut is. I wouldn't say I really enjoy it. I'd say that it was better
compared to everybody else I know.
So I would probably say Dark Knight Rises and then versus Superman are like right here.
Yeah.
And then Forever. Well, okay, we're throwing out the Adam West one. The Adam West one's probably.
Well, no. If we were
the Adam West one,
Adam
that's
West
number one.
No. It's honestly, just pure enjoyment.
It's the best movie ever made.
It's easily number 1 or number 2. I just got the entire Batman 1960s DVD collection.
That's good.
Oh my gosh, I love that show so much.
So good. But yeah. So I'd probably go Rises, Superman, Forever, and then somewhere down there, and Robin.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Which I don't even know which one I hate more, but I guess I have to put the Freeze one at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because I remember the puns way too much.
Batman Forever is campy as all hell, but it's actually not awful for the most part. There's a couple of parts where you're just like, oh my god, you really did that? Like, holy rusted metal, Batman. Huh? It's metal. It's rusty and full of holes, you know? Holes, man. That's awful. But the whole movie's not like that, whereas Batman and Robin, that is the whole movie. Like, so, yeah. Anyway, we're way off topic, but yeah, so, I mean, I enjoyed it. It's somewhere in that range. Like I said, 7, you said 7.5. Somewhere in that range. Not like a classic, but it's definitely not bad. It's nowhere close to bad, and it's enjoyable. So if you want to see another Batman movie, you want to see this type of arc done, it's never been done before, at least in live action film. So go ahead and check it out. It's definitely worth watching.
Oh, 100%. Definitely got to see the new Batman arise and see where he goes and how he grows in the trilogy.
Zoe Kravitz?
I really wish they would have just made her a reoccurring grow the relationship over 3 movies sort of character.
It kind of bugged me that her outfit at the end, not her Catwoman outfit, but that outfit with like the pink hair and then like the corset. I was like, that looks more like Catwoman than her actual outfit did. And I love it, but like, you're not Catwoman now because you got pink hair on. But anyway.
Hey, then she puts it into the underneath the little...
Yeah, if she had a mask on with that outfit, that would have been more Catwoman than her actual Catwoman outfit. Her actual Catwoman outfit was a slightly better version of what Anne Hathaway wore.
Yeah, I mean, she wore a typical cat burglar outfit, but then her
leather
mask
jacket thing.
Yeah, and then her mask had some cat ears.
Not really though. It was just kind of pointed.
It's like, yeah, it was just little points.
Not intentional. It was just there. Yeah.
Oh, no, it felt very.
Well, it was intentional from a filmmaking standpoint, but not from a character standpoint.
Right.
But yeah, it bugs me that it's like Catwoman is supposed to be hot. She's supposed to be sexy, and she wasn't this, but her outfit wasn't. And it's the same thing where it's like, Anne Hathaway is a very attractive woman. They did everything in their power to not make Catwoman hot in that movie, and I don't know why.
It's just she's Catwoman in name only for the most part.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't like her performance. She's just, they didn't make this character very much Catwoman.
Are we talking Kravitz or Hathaway? Or both?
Well, I didn't mind Kravitz's performance. Hathaway was whatever.
Anyway, off subject again. So yeah, no, I thought overall the casting was brilliant. I thought everybody did really well in their respective roles. Even if the characters weren't perfectly written, I think like Kravitz and Farrell and everybody just did so well because they just embodied the role. So it's like some of the writing was weak at times, but you didn't care because it was just the characters, the actors really broke through and did it so well. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Bye.